How's it going, everyone? In this video, we're going to do a trade recap of some of the trades I took in the past 2 days, some trades we took in my Discord community, along with some overall market context and proper trading analysis. If you're new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button below. Also, if you want to see daily recaps like this, I recommend to follow me on Instagram. I post very good trading tips and tricks, along with daily trading recaps. It's a very good resource, and the link to this will be in the description below. Without further ado, let's get right into the video. On Thursday, there was tons of different setups that members capitalized. There was tons of different trades, and I'm going to go over the trade I took on this. So, to get more context again, let's go over the pre-market plan. Said we had demand, we're moving down. Key area for me to hold, depending on the context, is if we pull back and hold 3858 and 3854 demand zone. If buyers don't step in early, I don't see it being a good day for the upside. If the market wants to drop at the open, buyers must step in, and we can look to long at demand at the 3858 and 3854 demand zone. We also had supply around 3887, so keep that in mind. Now going to the chart, let's just act like and go over my thought process as the market was developing. So in the overnight session, the market started dropping. We did have a news report, the jobs report that came out, but this drop was before that report. Volume was increasing, pretty heavy, not heavy volume, but out of the ordinary volume for an overnight session. Then the market started opening up, and here we had our 3858 demand zone. Fast forward to the next 5-minute candle, 10 minutes into the market open, we did trigger this 3858 zone. Couple of things here. I do not like trading in the first 5 to 10 minutes. There really was not any clear direction. So yes, we did bounce off of demand. The context of this was I like waiting for more market generated information, which will help tell the story a little clearer. If I don't see a clear picture, a clear story, things may work out, but I don't like jumping the gun without me confirming 100% of the story that I'm seeing being displayed by the market. But if we were to go into a 1-minute chart, and if we were scalping, something that I'm doing, like I said, often in this market, we did bounce off of this for a quick 12 or so points to the upside. So the trade I did take was waiting for these demand zones to trigger with proper confirmation. So the first 15-20 minutes of the market open, we were balancing out. We were failing to get above the high. We were also trading inside of this tight range. And it wasn't until around 10 o'clock or so where we started selling off into this 3854 demand zone. And what I liked here was price was really stalling out. We were having a hard time moving lower despite this quick little and abrupt move to the downside. So as soon as we put this high in at 3860 and we started bouncing at the 3854 demand zone, I took this long. I took in with heavy size at $1.80. I believe it was the 386 calls on SPY. Stop loss below the low at $1.80, and then this thing started rallying. My targets usually are always VWAP. I like seeing how the high or the low reacts to price. So as soon as we got above the high and as soon as we were strong above VWAP, I held this trade just for I wanted to see a little more upside, especially that we only had supply around 10 points higher, and this rally from the lows to the high was about 20 points. So about a third of the move more we needed to get to the upside. Then we started breaking above the high, and again we started stalling out here. I liked how we were basing and holding above VWAP, but I scaled 50% of my position just because I was in with such heavy size. I had a scalping mentality, as I have been having in this market, and as soon as I saw price start stalling out, scaled out 50% just to protect myself on a pullback, because as you know, premiums do get crushed if you're not on the right side. So the market started selling off, and we were just chopping around this area, moving down, then moving back up. We failed to get above and hold above VWAP and the 3875 area. Then the market started coming down. As soon as we broke below this support right over here that I'm marking is where I stopped out of my remaining contracts. I stopped out at around, I think it was $1.85, so about 5 cents above my entry, but that was half my position as I did scale half above here. So that was a very, very good trade. And then we started trading, consolidating in this range. And I was telling members it looks very weak. And in the intraday commentary tab, I put my whole thought process as the market is developing. We're still balanced. I may look to take it short if we get below 3854. It was a pretty weak attempt by buyers. And then around 1048, we saw 1 hour supply forming, and I took this trade short. So if going back to here, we got 1048. So what I saw was we did push up, and this was a very good attempt by buyers. And with context and understanding the gauge of participation, you have to see who is showing effort and who is getting rewarded. If buyers are not getting rewarded, it's just going to fuel a further move to the downside. If they are getting rewarded and dips are getting bought, we're making higher highs, we're staying above a high, staying above VWAP, then we're going to see some type of continuation. But if there's no reward, there's not going to be any effort. And when there's no effort, you're going to have basically non-existent buyers. And that's something pretty much what I saw here as we failed to find a bid. We came back and tested these demand zones, and it just looked very weak by reading price action. This is something that comes with experience, and I try to let members know as best as I can, because as soon as we did break the low, again, there was just no bids. The price action, the tape was getting hit hard on the bid side, and price was continue moving lower. So I did take this trade short. Did not get a lot of movement on this because I was in with very, very heavy size, and a quick pullback would have completely destroyed it. But we did come and we moved lower inside of this 3854 demand zone, and this is pretty much the highest, or it's an outlier in volume compared to the past hour, and an outlier in volume inside of a demand zone with no continuation to the downside is a good signal for a potential reversal depending on the context. But we did have this falling wedge on a 1 minute, and then the market started to find a intermediate bottom here where we made a double bottom. Let me just remove this trend line. We made a double bottom, and it just seemed like price was having a hard time moving lower if you were watching this area. So as soon as I saw this, and if you go to a little bit of a higher time frame, at the same time we did come into this demand, these lower wicks right here inside of this 3854 demand zone that we were watching. Yes, we moved a little lower, but this might have been an area where buyers were present, and we can validate this by these lower wicks. It's key. The key is spotting this as it happens in real time and being able to make a decision in a blink of a moment, getting your contracts loaded, putting the trade on without hesitation, and taking the trade. So on the 15-minute, we saw those wicks. On a 5-minute, maximize this. On a 5-minute, we just saw an area where we were consolidating, and it looked like every time price was coming down, we were absorbing those sell orders. Hence, the orders hitting on the bid were not really getting rewarded to the downside. And then we saw some type of upside momentum. I did not take this trade because at this point, I felt like I was over trading. I took the market long up here, sold up here, then I took it short down here, and then took profit over here. So I felt like if I switched to the long side, I just would have been like a pinball machine, just bouncing back and forth, taking trades. And at that point, I don't want to overtrade, especially that we saw a weak attempt by buyers the first time. So, it's not bad to go from long to short to long, but I just felt like I was overtrading, and that's just me, and that's just my personality behind my trades. But then we came up, we were making higher lows, we were also making higher highs. We tested VWAP again, and at this point, we were testing this area right here. And this area around, let's call it over here, formed supply. So what I saw here is, act like this is a pink box. When supply becomes formed intraday, the key is if rallies get sold into that supply zone. If they don't get sold and we create new demand, or we find value at that supply, what's going to happen? The nearest supply zone is going to act like a magnet, and the chance of higher prices being explored is significantly higher. So we came up, we're consistently making higher highs, we're somewhat double topping, we're testing this supply range over here. The fact is that we were consolidating, and now this area right here formed new demand. We held value, buyers agreed on price inside of supply, signifies more uptrend and more upside. And then this thing that was a clear entry signal, this thing started rallying into the 3887.5 supply zone that we were watching from the pre-market plan. Created supply at 3887. Bears obviously present. Question is, do they keep putting pressure or do they back off? So this was a key zone that we were watching. Price came into this the first time, and this is where knowing the type of trade you're looking to put on and knowing the type of setup that there is. If you did take this short at supply, you could have got a quick 10 points to the downside. Look at that beautiful volume over here. Perfect. Perfect short at supply, perfect volume push, would have been a good area to take profits. Then what happens again? We come back, we test the supply zone. Again, weakness into the zone. You could have got a quick couple of points if you were scalping. If you're day trading and you held on to this a little longer, most likely you would have got stopped out at the high. So there's multiple different scenarios, multiple different personalities, multiple different trades you could look to put on. But ultimately, we did form a head and shoulders where we had a left shoulder, a head, and then a right shoulder. And this would have been a good short confirmation. Once you got that right shoulder put in, we started coming down. Volume was not really anything of value. But as soon as we put the head and shoulders pattern, it was good for about 15 or so points. And then look what happened. Remember that demand I was saying that formed inside of supply? Perfect little bounce, sold off from supply into demand. And then this thing started rallying end of day, and we closed the day very strong. So the point is with today's action, or Thursday's action, was multiple different scenarios. You could play the market in different ways. Just my supply and demand zones are the areas where I want to be a participant, and I wait for price to tell me when to be that active participant in the market or not. And I love getting this feedback from members. This person took SPY calls at demand. He had his biggest day ever, $6,100. Very, very good profit. If you follow the process, the profits will easily come. So I really appreciate and I love seeing that. Now to get more context for today, March 26th. Overnight, we were testing that downtrend line from yesterday and supply at 3913. Buyers seemed pretty strong. We had demand below at 3884 if we pulled back. But the key areas for me today was the 3927, 3932, and 3938 all used supply zones. And obviously, as a good reference, was pre-market highs. We are watching those zones. If we reject, it could be a very nice sell-off. And if we slice through them or we create new demand above 3927, we could squeeze some more juice to the upside before the weekend, potentially into 3947 and 3957, which is what the market's doing right now. But now that we have those levels in mind, let's break down today. I took a very good trade on this. I got very good feedback. A lot of members ended the weekend very, very strong on a good note on these trades. So overnight, we were flat. We were chopping around. We had this 3913 supply zone, and this was confluent with that upper trend line, which we were rejecting. Then the market opened, and we were above the supply zone. We really weren't selling off. I wasn't interested in taking it short. Like I said, my key areas were these supply zones up here. Then the market started rallying, and it made a push up. So what I liked here is in the first 30 minutes, or let's just call it the first 30 minutes of the market open, we moved in a 6 or so 5-point range, and then we made a push up. So this balance period right here also lined up with VWAP aiming up. And in the intraday commentary tab, I said I'm looking if we pull back into 3917 to 3913, we hold VWAP, the start of supply because we're basing inside, and it's the consolidation period. If we hold this zone on a pullback, I'm going to look to take the market long. So if you were to go on a 1 minute chart, because that's what I was looking at, we came down into this consolidation period. We came down into this new demand that formed. We were making a flag or falling wedge, whatever you want to call it. We're consistently making these lower lows, also lower highs. We hit the 3917 area perfectly. And this isn't something I would consider a demand zone. However, it was a consolidation period where 30 minutes of the S&P 500 of the market open, usually the most volatile, was super choppy. It was balanced out. So once price got out of that range, if we pulled back and tested it again, I wanted it to hold, which is exactly what we did. As soon as I saw some upside momentum, I did take SPY calls long. I took the 393 calls at 70 cents. As soon as we pushed up, came right into my target. I was letting everybody know when I was scaling in and scaling out, just so everybody could have the same thought process. I scaled out at 1032 and then scaled out the rest at 1033 as soon as we hit supply and as soon as we started seeing it sell off a little bit. Now, one thing I do want to mention is that because I was long, and I said this in another one of my videos, I talk about this in the course, I don't like flipping from long to short, then short to long. So I did take profits at the supply, as you should in uptrends, and I really wasn't too concerned of taking it short because I didn't want to overtrade it. But we did fail at this 3927 supply zone, and we did sell off pretty aggressively. We did break the low. As soon as we broke that low, there really wasn't any demand that we were watching until the 3884 from down here. But immediately we started bouncing up, and this area over here did create supply. But if you were to look on a 15-minute chart, we saw a lot of buying pressure, hence these lower wicks right here. And on a 5-minute, it did look even more bullish. So there was really no sell confirmation there, as it looked primed to at least test the top, see if it could break the high, and if it doesn't, it would set up for a nice short setup. But fast forward, we had the next supply zone nearest the price, which was 3932, where we made a triple top or so, you could call it. We were stalling out here, and then the market eventually did sell off. It did look like the end of the world, but like I said before, there wasn't demand created here yet. But because we got this rally, we did break the high. This validated demand in this area over here. So if we were to fast forward the action, the market ended day when it did look like the end of the world, sold off into this demand. And I tell members this all the time, that the market will always want to look bearish for you to sell, and that's when they buy. And they want you to buy when they're selling. So always second guess your position if you don't understand supply and demand. This is what moves the market. This is how price facilitates trade, because end of the day, when we did bounce at this zone, we finally got back above 3927. Buyers very, very, very strong, increasing buying pressure, and we sliced through that zone like butter. These are all used supply zones. Finally got above that 3927 from the pre-market plan. As I said there, we could squeeze more juice to the upside before the weekend, potentially into 3947. And to be honest, would have never thought today would have hit 3957 and closed pretty much near all-time highs. But pretty insane market. It's this supply and demand is how the market moves. You have to understand the auction process and understand the relationship between buyers and sellers. So I think I'm going to end the video here. It was a killer week. I had a very, very good week today, or this week. Made very good money trading pretty much primarily the S&P 500. Just every day was setting up perfectly. So hopefully this continues. I know a lot of members did capitalize on these moves. Like I said, a very good week. I'm going to end it here. If you did learn something, smash that like button. Subscribe to my channel. If you really want to learn more and you want to join the Discord room, be sure to check out the website and the link in the description below, as I do offer a very in-depth course which comes with the chat room. Besides that, see you all later. Peace.